The period between 1943 and 1950 in the history of Italian cinema is dominated by the impact of neorealism, which is properly defined as a moment or a trend in Italian film, rather than an actual school or group of theoretically motivated and like-minded directors and scriptwriters. Neorealism is characterized by stories set amongst the poor and working class, filmed on location, frequently using non-professional actors. The films mostly contend with the difficult economical and moral conditions of post-World War II Italy, reflecting the changes in the Italian psyche and the conditions of everyday life, poverty and desperation. The neorealist style was developed by a circle of film critics that revolved around the magazine Cinema, including Michelangelo Antonioni, Luchino Visconti, Cesare Zavattini, and Giuseppe De Santis. Largely prevented from writing about politics, the editor-in-chief of the magazine was the son of Benito Mussolini. The critics attacked the Telefono Bianco films that dominated the industry at the time. These white telephones films were made in the 1930s, in imitation of American films of that time. They tended to be socially conservative, promoting family values, respect for authority, a rigid class hierarchy, and country life. As a counter to the poor quality of mainstream films, some of the critics felt that Italian cinema should turn to the realist writers from the turn of the century. Neorealist films are generally filmed with non-professional actors, though in a number of cases well-known actors were cast in leading roles, playing strongly against the normal character types in front of a background populated by local people rather than extras brought in for the film. Neorealist films generally feature children in major roles, though their roles are frequently more observational than participatory. Neorealism became famous globally in 1946 with Roberto Rossellini's Roma Città Aperta, when it won the Grand Prize at the Cannes Film Festival as the first major film produced in Italy after the war. Despite containing many elements extraneous to the principles of neorealism, it depicted clearly the struggle of normal Italian people to live from day to day under the extraordinary difficulties of the German occupation of Rome, consciously doing what they can to resist the occupation. The children play a key role in this, and their presence at the end of the film is indicative of their role in neorealism as a whole, as observers of the difficulties of today who hold the key to the future. Vittorio De Sica's 1948 film Ladri di biciclette is also representative of the genre, with non-professional actors and a story that details the hardships of working-class life after the war. At the height of neorealism, in 1948, Luchino Visconti directed La Terra Trema, The Earth Trembles, based on a novel by Giovanni Verga, written at the height of the 19th century realist Verismo movement. It was a start only non-professional actors and filmed in the same village as the novel was set in. Because the local dialect differed so much from the Italian spoken in Rome and the other major cities, the film had to be subtitled even in its domestic release. The celebrated 1952 film Umberto De by De Sica, about an elderly, impoverished, retired civil servant struggling to make ends meet, is often cited as a classic neorealist effort. Italian neorealism virtually ended in 1952. Liberal and socialist parties were having a hard time presenting their message. Levels of income were gradually starting to rise, and the first positive effects of the ricostruzione began to show. As a consequence, most Italians favored the optimism shown in many American movies of the time. The vision of poverty and despair, presented by the neorealist films, was demoralizing a nation anxious for prosperity and change.